What is up, gamers? Staxwell's back at it again today with another video. Today we're going over the top 8 deck list from the US Nationals and kind of breaking down what makes them different. Why did they top over other lists? Were they all stock standard? What differentials? What changes? What's going on with the meta? Don't waste any more time. Let's just go ahead and jump straight into it here. And we're going to be diving into Austin Summers' list. He was on Prism. So this is a relatively normal Prism. He's got some spicy stuff in here for sure, though. It is a Switchblade package. He's got the Iris of Reality along with the Luminaris, and he's playing Great Library of Solana, which is pretty cool. I think it's for the ALS loop matchups. There's certain matchups you just have to ALS loop, and being able to have 5 intellect while you're trying to do that is a huge advantage in those matchups. Also worth noting that Austin wasn't on Imperium Rapture, which kind of makes sense because Imperium Rapture, being able to hit with a Figment or hit with a Herald and then flip a Figment on the same turn only really matters because you want the ward 4 that bad. But against like Ninja, having the ward 4 isn't like that insane. They throw a lot of small attacks at you and kind of ruin your ward 4 value. So he probably is just electing to cut the card completely and just stick with Vestige because of that. Against things like Brute, it's insane because they almost always are. You're almost always getting the full 4 points of value out of your ward. Whereas against Ninja in this current metagame, you might not be getting so lucky. He's also on 3 Herald of Judgment. This card is actually insane in this format. It shuts down Zen completely. It's also very good against things like Levia. Fantastic card. Exactly what you want out of a Herald. It is disruption built into like pressure, right? Because if it hits, it goes to Soul, gets an Angel, and then the on hit, like it's just an insane card in that matchup. And this is probably like the reason I also registered Prism for this event. Herald of Judgment just kind of swings that matchup so favorable for you. This is a must block. They can't not block this card. Card's actually insane. Tome of Fendal is also a super spicy one. I imagine this kind of fits with the library package. You're just kind of trying to dig for that ALS combo against decks that can't pressure you too hard. And you have so much go again, right? You could swing with a Herald, you could swing with an Angel, and then you can still play Tome. And if it's on a other Tome, if it's on a Tome of Divinity turn, could wind up gaining a lot of life and then still playing out auras at instant speed. Seems quite powerful in those slower matchups. Stonewall Gauntlet, obviously insane versus Zen, and not obviously, but like awkwardly also very good versus Bolton. I also registered this, and I didn't even think about it till I played against a Bolton, and I flipped this up, and I'm like, whoa, this kind of just like destroys your deck. Like it's pretty good. He's also on Ode to Wrath, which is a little bit different. A lot of people have been cutting it. I personally have cut it. After seeing Austin Summers play, it kind of does make sense, right? In those slower ALS matchups or in the Iris matchups, that card is super annoying. It's almost a must clear. Attack for 5 every turn with it. If you ever do keep a hand, those 4 breakpoints with the Iris, turning them into 5 damage is kind of insane. Figment of Judgment, also an insane card. Being able to Halo, bring out a Figment of Judgment at instant speed and flip the Bonds targets face down or the Zen targets face down. These things, make that Zen matchup very favorable for you, which is probably what made Austin see success on the hero. I think it's a good hero, well positioned, and some spicy picks in this deck. Also, Vambrace. This is probably for the Enigma matchup. Enigma is not a good one for you. We've seen that demonstrated on camera, and I lived it as well. Prism v Enigma. For those wondering, as a Prism player, you would think it's like, I would be coping and saying it's good for me. It's not. It's not good for me at all. It's definitely Enigma favored, and the Vambrace was probably a hedge towards that bet. I don't know how it performed for him. Obviously, it wasn't quite enough in the top 8 match, but I don't know. Maybe that match was an anomaly. Maybe it did good for him in other areas. William Bradshaw's was on Azalea, and he's got a couple spicy things in here as well. First off is Codex of Bloodrot. Obviously, Codex is probably a hedge against Enigma. Having Enigma Bloodrot tokens is very annoying. It's kind of obnoxious, to be honest. Murkmire Grappler as well. Same thing, good against Enigma. William was also respecting Prism. This is obviously a hedge just for Prism. Battlefront Bastion. Enigma, you don't need poppers for Enigma, but against Prism you do. Balance of Justice, a hedge against not only Brute, but also Prism, having that 2 extra block, able to cover up a Erudition. Seems very good. AB, or not AB2, Spellfray 2, and then Spell Fray 2, AB2, right? Because you have the cloak, the legs, and then you have the Bullseye Bracer and the Skullbone Cross Wrap. Gives you AB2 Spell Void 2 to kind of shore up those Kano matchups. Dreadbore is also an insane card against decks like Enigma, right? Enigma probably is siding in like 9 to 12 D-Reacts against you. So when you flip over Dreadbore, it's just a totally different game. Same as against things like Victor, right? They're going to be playing a lot of D-Reacts against you. So for only taking up one sideboard slot, you're covering up a lot of matchups, surprisingly. And then Long Draw Half Glove. This is obviously just a hedge against Warmongers. He's probably citing this every Zen game because the way Zen beats you is they make you take an off turn with something like Warmongers, and then they just, the next turn, they set up a 5-card hand and try and shoot you for like 50 damage or something like that. And yeah, Long Draw Half Glove kind of mitigates that a little bit. You know, you could do all of this and pump something like a Remorseless or a Red and Ledger and be able to stay in it. Also helps with your consistency issues. If you have all arrows and no pumps, you know, being able to still come in with a 9 attack Red and Ledger is still very powerful stuff. 3 Fatigue Shot as well. This is very good against not only the Brutes, but also against Victor. I imagine it's more in there for the Brutes, but this deck is like kind of incidentally teched out to beat Victor as well, which had a bigger representation than probably most people anticipated it would have. Also 3 Release the Tension. Yeah, just a lot of D-React hate in this deck. Other than that, the main board looks pretty standard. You know, we've seen the Amplifying Arrow. This build that Brody kind of pioneered seems to be the stock standard now. All right, moving on to Nathan Laphams. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, Nathan. But he was able to secure a top 8 finish on Enigma. This list is relatively close to standard. We do have a couple of spicy things in here, though. The Moon Chakra is kind of an interesting one, but when paired with a Transcend card, like it enables your Transcend. You play this on the stack, you Transcend. Seems quite good. A Drop in the Ocean is one a lot of people weren't playing either, so to see that in a lot of lists now is kind of interesting. Spears of Surreality, a lot of people weren't playing, and then Spectral Prowler just seems like Ethan wants a lot of go again in his blue hands, as well as Second Tenet of Chi Wind. Being on that second cycle with all blues, you just want to throw your hand at your opponent and present as much damage as possible. Ripple Away was probably a hedge against Brute, and not only Brute, probably the Mirror as well. It's very good against Spectral Manifestations. Being able to discard that against a Spectral turns, you know, your one card gets 2 of their cards. Almost wins the game on the spot, honestly, a lot of times. Amnesia, fantastic tech. This kind of just destroys Zen. Weakest Link, also fantastic tech, destroys Zen and you know, all of the other Mystic heroes, right? In the Enigma Mirror, it's very good. Against Ooh, it's very good. Against Prism, it's very good. Against Brute, it's very good. Weakest Link is kind of an all-star this format, and I'm surprised the price hasn't spiked up higher than it is, to be honest with you. Unmovable and 3 Sync, 3 Fate. You could see, this is what I'm saying, and then 3 Hold the Line. This was what I was talking about when we were talking about Williams' Dreadbore. Enigmas are just playing a lot of D-Reacts, right? 3, 6, 9, 10 D-Reacts in this list. I might even be missing one. Oh, yeah, 2 Unravel Aggression. So 12 D-Reacts in this list. Yeah, this kind of stuff is why Dreadbore is played. Dissolve Reality is proving itself to be a very good competitive card. I actually very much like it. Enigma is... Like, how you play against Enigma is you have to build these 5-card hands to be able to break through all of the blocking power and then break through the ward. So being able to counter that strategy with something like Dissolve Reality is very good technology. Playing a Phantasmal Footsteps as well. This is just, to my understanding, this is just against T-Bone. That's how Mech is playing these days. They're just trying to blow up all of your armor. And if you had the other boots in here, Meridian, they don't block. So if they T-Bone you twice, just 2 T-Bones, they're taking away your Tunic and your Traverse, and that could cost you the entire game right there. He's also playing Phantasmaclasm and Red Spears of Surreality. This is probably against the decks that, like Amnesia and Weakest Link, isn't quite good enough against, and that don't have poppers. You just want to push as much damage against those kind of decks as you can. AB3 is obviously a hedge against Kano, and then 2 Restless Coalescence in the side. Notable that there's no Phantom Tidemaw on this list whatsoever, and that's kind of a theme with all of the lists that did good. Phantom Tidemaw just doesn't seem to be quite good enough, which therefore kind of makes Restless Coalescence not quite good enough. So against the decks that can't clear your board, he's probably siding in 2 Restless Coalescence and the Spectral Manifestations because together they combo very well. But without the Phantom Tidemaw, Restless Coalescence does lose quite a bit of value. Moving on to Jacob Shaker's Zen deck. This is a kind of an interesting one, right? He's got AB3 in gloves, robe, and boots, and then he's playing a Spell Void 1. This is how he's approaching the Kano matchup. Very different approach to what our champion, Evan Henderson? Yeah, Evan Herndon. I'm sorry. Evan Herndon. Very different approach to what Evan is doing. 3 Amnesia, 3 CNC. These are probably for the mirror. It's also worth noting that this player is playing Growl, whereas most other lists, I don't think I've ever seen another list play Growl. It is a 0 for 4 with Go Again, so like the math is there for this card. It's also worth noting that this player is not playing any Moon Chakra. That's kind of a theme. I don't think any of the top decks are playing Moon Chakra. Moon Chakra originally seemed very good. You were able to play Moon Chakra and then transcend off of it, give a Tiger +3. It seemed to be on rate at the very least. On rate isn't good enough these days. You need to be above rate on every card, apparently. So I guess to replace it, he's playing something like Tiger Form Incantation or Harmony of the Hunt. I guess these cards do seem a little bit better than Moon Chakra. The value of them on average is a little bit better, especially if you're not transcending. Moon Chakra is just a terrible card if you're not transcending, whereas these like aren't that bad, right? Aren't that bad if you're not transcending. 3 Snag, obviously, for the new matchups, and then 3 Warmongers for Azalea primarily. Obviously, those are both good in some other scenarios, but that's the main reason that they're in there. And then also worth noting, the full We Make Best Bonds line is in here. 9 and 9, 9 Bonds, 9 Descendant. The combo is actually insane. It makes sense that they're on 9 and 9. A weird choice that they're only on 300 wins, though. It kind of would make sense to be on 6, like most people have been. But yeah, only 300 wins. Moving on, Michael Dalton. This hero finished, or this player was able to take Zen to a top 4 finish. Again, taking a different approach to the Kano matchup. This one's just Spell Void 3 with a Mask of the Pouncing Lynx. You know, obviously Traverse is useless against Kano, so you need something else. Here you could put like AB or another Spell Void. I do think Mask is the correct call. You want to pressure the Kano. You want to kill them as quick as possible, and you want to make them pop off on a turn that they don't really want to pop off on, and then you have your Spell Void 3 for when they finally do pull that trigger. 3 Blanche. Blanche is also proven to be a very good card. So good against all of the new Mystic heroes, and then incidentally good against things like Prism. It's a 7-power popper, which is very relevant with all of the Herald of Triumphs running around, and then it turns off their yellows. Kind of an insane card. Censor. This is just a kind of a different Amnesia, right? You could call Bonds, you could call Crouching Tiger. Seems very good in the mirror, and costing only 1, you could end a lot of combat chains with Censor. Really mess up your opponent. CNC, good verse. These are like the side deck cards, obviously. Blanche, Censor, CNC, these are all side deck cards. Side deck against, Prism and the Mirror, I would imagine. This player is also playing a Cosmic Awakening. I imagine this is a side deck to combat fatigue. Shifting Winds of the Mystic Beast as well. Another card that is gaining a lot of popularity. Jacob wasn't playing it, but our champion Evan was playing it. So this card seems to be... Originally, it was kind of written off as like a win more card or too cute to be in the list, something like that. But it's proven itself. Yeah, it's proven itself to deserve a spot in the list. And then this player also on 3 Snag, 3 Warmongers. Seems to be very standard. The full Transcend package, playing all of the Transcends. I think they both are. Yeah, all of the Zens are playing all of the Transcends you're able to play. Transcending in Zen is just that important. Mauling Key, also an interesting one. A lot of Zens are cutting this. I think this is the only Zen in top 8 that is playing the Mauling Key. It just kind of seems like it wasn't quite good enough, not quite above rate enough, just a little bit above rate, just a 1 for 6, you know what I'm saying? No big deal. That's not quite good enough for Zen these days. Zen needs more than that. They're also on the full We Make Best Bonds line. 9 Bonds of Agony, not quite 9 Descendant, but 7 Descendant. Might as well be 9. Bonds is just carrying Ninja. FaB is just bad because he can't play Bonds, and the other 2 ninjas are good because they can. It's really as simple as that. Moving on, we're on Aaron Grace, also finished top 4. This player was able to do it with Enigma. Some spicy picks in this Enigma deck is Waves of Aquamarine. We talked about this in the Market Watch. This card is very good. I imagine he has a lot of 2 for 6s. Yep, he has Amnesia, Command and Conquer, and that's it. But being able to force through either one of those on hits against a Zen, he's blocking 2, trying to protect his arsenal, and then, you pitch a blue, play CNC, he blocks 6, and then you pay 1, give it a +1, and then have a block for the next turn. Definitely goes above rate if you're able to take an additional card, or if you're able to take additional value with Amnesia. Probably going to get you a lot more value than Uphold Tradition would in these aggressive matchups. Again, playing Phantasmaclasm. This card's almost standard in Enigma now. every Enigma player is playing them. Same with Moon Chakra. Moon Chakra, weirdly enough, is kind of making its way into a lot of Enigma lists. Being able to just transcend on your opponent's turn on command like that is turning out to be very good. The red Moon Chakra, this one's a little bit spicy. Being able to prevent 5 on one card seems very above rate, but with all of this damage can't be prevented kind of hate, right? With the Murkmire Grappler, and things of the like. Moon Chakra does lose a couple points in my book. Maybe he's just playing it for the Kano matchup. You know what? That's actually probably what he's doing. 10,000 Year Reunion. This card is pretty cute with things like Phantom Tidemaw, which he is playing, and then Spectral Manifestations. Against decks that just can't clear this card's insane. So against things like Prism, Warrior, Guardian, a lot of those can't break through your ward. And since they can't break through, being able to block with Traverse, get a chi, pitch the chi, be able to play this for free. And then if you had a Spectral Manifestations from the turn before, play this for free basically. Well, you attack with a Spectral Shield for 4, remove the counters, play this at instant speed, and then pay 1 more, maybe a Tunic counter or something to attack for 10. This card goes really above rate, and then if you're able to protect it even for 1 turn, this card goes insane, like actually insane. 3 Dissolve Reality, again, all the same reasons as before. Dissolve Reality is just kind of nuts, this format. Also worth noting that both of these Enigma players are not playing the Waning Vengeance, the 1-cost aura that has Ward 3 and doesn't come with a counter, and it has like a effect where it's like if it's destroyed and there's a blue card in your pitch zone, make a Spectral Shield. Neither of them are playing with that, which is a bit different because that was in every Enigma deck just a couple weeks ago, and now it's not in there at all. 3 this round's on me for Zen, Warmongers for Azalea. Standing order, this one's kind of good because sometimes you just have like trash in your arsenal, like you just so happen to end with an Enigma Chimera or Essence of Ancestry Mind, something like that in your arsenal. Being able to have a way to just unclog it, or maybe you have a 10,000 Year Reunion in there that you're just not quite able to pull off. Being able to unclog it, put it back in the deck, not getting rid of that threat completely, seems quite good in this deck. This player's also on 2 blue Sink Below, very good because it enabled Transcend. Why would you ever play blue Sink Below over blue Hold the Line? It doesn't quite make sense. Still blocks 2, also enables your Transcend, and the answer is he's also on 3 blue Hold the Line, right? So he has 3 blue Hold the Line, 5 Sink Below, and Unmovable. That puts him at what, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 D-Reacts? Again, this is just kind of putting more and more points towards that Dreadbore. If you're a Riptide player, if you're an Azalea player, you're not playing Dreadbore, it very well may be time to start including that in your deck. Yeah, I like to see this. Both of these Enigma decks that we've looked at so far are quite different enough that they're very interesting, right? They're bringing us a lot of new tech, like Moon Chakra, Amnesia, proving that some of the old tech, like 1,000 Year Reunion, is good enough, right? Spectral Manifestation, still good. A lot of people cutting it, but in the matchups where they can't clear ward easy, it's very, very powerful. Andrew Rothermel. I should probably just stop trying to pronounce people's last names. I think I might be offending them more than I'm helping. So we'll just go with Andrew. This is Andrew's 2nd place deck with KO. What a finals that was, by the way. If you guys didn't get a chance to catch that, definitely go back and watch it. It was a really, really good one. Anyway, Andrew is not playing Cast Bones at all. That's like the immediate standout of his deck. Only 2 Enlightened Strike. Makes sense that you would cut down on this card. It's the first card that seems worthy of cutting, just because it's not a brute attack on the Blood Rush Bellows turns. It's not quite as good, but on the agility turns, it's insane. So you still want some, because draw a card and it natively having go again off an agility token is kind of busted. But yeah, you don't want to have it clog your hand while you're trying to Blood Rush someone. Also, no yellow agile windup is a little bit interesting, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of a bad card, right? Most of the time you just have to discard it for it to be worth it, and discarding it and getting a might and an agility, I mean, you're getting what, 2 points of value out of your yellow agile windup. It's only at yellow, so you can't really pitch it that often and make use out of it. It makes sense that it was cut. It does. Card quality is just kind of going up in general. Clash of Might over Clash of Agility. I actually really, really like this, because every time I block with Clash of Agility, I'm like, wait, I don't have enough cards to make use of the agility token anymore. Why am I even playing Clash of Agility? So it doesn't really make sense. But if you had 2 cards or if you had 4 card hand, you block with 2 of them. One of them is Clash of Might, and then you just like throw a Bear Fangs for, 9. That makes a lot more sense than only being able to block with 1 card and then keeping a card to be able to claw and Bear Fangs for 8. Because then that's like what, 8 plus claw is 11 and then plus the 3 block is 14 points of value. Whereas if you block with 2 cards, right? So you block with CNC and Clash of Might, and then you throw a Bare Fangs, that's 6 block, and then 9 attack, that's 15, which is more points of value. Every point obviously matters at this level of play. So Clash of Might over Clash of Agility makes a ton of sense to me. Still on 2 Reckless Swing. I know a lot of people had been cutting that, so it's interesting to see that still in the list. Red Agile Windup, this is almost certainly just for Prism, I imagine. Savage Beatdown, almost certainly just for decks that are trying to fatigue you. Weakest Link, we've talked about this card a couple times now. Insane versus almost everything. I'm sure he's bringing this in all the time. Pulping, probably hedge against the slower decks. Send Packing, great disruption against things like Zen or the Mirror or Dahlia, right? Good in a lot of aggro matchups that want to set up 5-card hands. AB3, nothing too spicy in this list, honestly. It's a relatively standard list outside of the stuff we mentioned, and the stuff we mentioned was like very small changes, right? No Cast Bones, that's not too crazy. A lot of people are only playing 1 or 2 these days. Clash of Might instead of Agility, right? We explained it's just like maybe 1 more point of value. The deck is just getting a bit more and more streamlined every time we see it. Obviously, we didn't talk about this, but obviously playing Savage Sash, the new cards Savage Sash and Run Rough Shed are very good. I also don't know why these have maybe boards in them. Do the players upload these themselves? Like, how do they know? How does FaB know what's in the maybe board? I don't fully get it, but whatever. Either way, let's move on to our champion, Evan Herndon's list. Evan, obviously a very strong player. A lot of innovation in Evan's list. I'm glad to see that the most innovative deck was able to take the entire tournament. The obvious standout is Zephyr Needle. But Zephyr Needle kind of reminds me a lot of Teklo Pounder, being able to just have, instead of 2 resources for 2 damage, it's 2 resources for 4 damage. It'll probably only last a couple turns and then it'll die. Very similar to Teklo Pounder, right? You get a couple above rate turns, and hopefully your opponent is so far behind after those couple of turns that Zephyr Needle puts you so far ahead. Not having weapons anymore doesn't even matter, right? It's also enables Evan to be able to play Arcane Lantern. Zephyr Needle never breaks in the Kano matchup, so being able to have 1 Zephyr Needle and 1 Arcane Lantern just puts you at such a better spot than playing Tiger Taming Kakara will put you at. Against Kano, it looks like Evan is playing full AB3 thanks to this Lantern. He has the Arcane Lantern, Gloves, and Tide Flippers, and then he's still able to keep his 12-petal Kasaya, which is insane because you're going to need those resources to be able to pay for that AB, and then he's also able to play Mask of the Pouncing Lynx to be able to pressure that Kano into popping off when they don't want to. And if they're doing that, you have 3 AB, right? And then you still have the 12-petal Kasaya, so it's insane. So if they throw Aether Wildfire at you, right, and then you're holding on to a card you could transcend, and then you play that card, you get a cheat, and then now you have 4 resources. Maybe that was the last card in your hand. The Kano was like, okay, well, I could beat him through AB3. If he only has 3 resources, I could beat him. And then that last card in your hand is a Transcend card. That turns into 4 resources, right? Because you get the chi, and then you get the resource off 12-petal Kasaya. It's probably messing with Kano a lot, and I think he had a very good plan. In my opinion, the best plan against Kano out of all of these players. Also, rocking 3 Blanche. Again, you need something for the Mirror. This is how aggro matchups always go. He who has the best tech in the aggro Mirror is going to wind up taking it, right? He is also not on Moon Chakra. He is on Shifting Winds of the Mystic Beast. He is also on only 6 Bonds and 6 Descendants, not playing yellow cards. I love to see it because, yeah, the card would just have to be insane for me to want to play it at yellow, I imagine, in this deck. So only 3 red, 3 blue, 3 red, 3 blue. I think this is the ideal ratio. I don't know that it's so insane you would want to play the yellows. Obviously not. I mean, he won, so I'm just going to take his word as gospel at this point. 3 E-Strike, very interesting. I wonder what this is for. I wonder if he's playing this all the time and then trying to give it go again with Art of War or something. I have no idea. I would be very interested to ask him what the E-Strikes are for. When I don't know, maybe it's in matchups he has to block. That way he's comfortable, against Azalea, blocking with 2 cards, throwing an E-Strike for 7, or E-Strike for 5, draw a card, setting up his arsenal for next turn. I imagine that's what it's for. But if there's something I'm missing, let me know in the comments below. Playing on the full 600 wins, I like this. Blue 100 wins to me seems insane. Being able to this easily enable your Transcend, and then turning 100 wins into 2 points of value, right? Because the 1 point here, and then if you're able to follow up with another 100 wins, that's another point. Transcend is worth something, right? 3 Harmony of the Hunt as well. This card's probably also just better at turning on Transcend than Moon Chakra is, unfortunately, for Moon Chakra. So that seems to be the standard now. This is no longer Moon Chakra as the standard. Harmony of the Hunt is the new standard, right? Again, playing all of the Transcend cards. Every Transcend card he can, he's playing. But yeah, he's not trying to get too cute with this list. Spinning Wheel Kick, just a good card, 1 for 4. Able to keep a 2-card hand. Needle Spinning Kick. What is that? 8 points of value for 2 cards. Seems pretty above rate. Seems pretty good. I think this list is like tight. It's innovative, and I think he deserved to win with this list. I think it's fantastic. Shout out to him. Shout out to everyone in the top 8 that I've talked about their deck list so far. That's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. Later, gamers.